He had crossed half the galaxy and still felt like a stranger everywhere he went. Commander Elias moved through the crowded spaceport of Viewership 9 with calm, careful steps, observing everything without drawing attention to himself. The air shimmered with artificial lights and floating signs written in dozens of alien languages. Strange voices echoed around him, musical tones, deep clicks, soft hums, all blending into a constant rhythm of trade and diplomacy. Humans were new here. Not unwanted, but not trusted either. Elias had learned to ignore the curious stares. Some aliens looked at him with fascination, others with caution. Humanity's reputation had spread quickly across the coalition. They were known as unpredictable problem solvers, physically weaker than many species but strangely resilient. No one fully understood them, and that uncertainty made others nervous. He paused near a viewing window overlooking the docking bay. Massive ships floated like silent giants, their metal skins reflecting distant stars. His own ship, a modest human cruiser, looked small compared to the elegant alien vessels surrounding it. His mission was simple on paper: attend diplomatic talks, observe interspecies trade agreements, and represent humanity with quiet professionalism. He preferred that kind of work. Less danger, fewer unexpected crises, but something in the air felt tense. A group of diplomats rushed past him, speaking urgently in low voices. Holographic screens flashed alerts in bright colors. Elias frowned slightly. Political disturbances were common on trade worlds, but this felt different. He continued toward the council chamber, a circular hall built from smooth silver stone that curved like flowing water. Guards from multiple species stood at the entrance, scanning arrivals. When Elias approached, one of them nodded respectfully and allowed him through. Inside, representatives from dozens of civilizations sat in tiered rows. The atmosphere felt heavy, charged with anticipation. At the center stood a tall alien woman with skin that shimmered like pale glass under soft light. Her posture was regal and unmoving. Elias recognized her from briefing files. Lady Sarilith, heir to a powerful lineage known for its influence over ancient genetic sciences. She looked calm, but tension rippled through the room. A translator drone hovered above her shoulder, projecting her voice in clear, measured tones. "I have made my selection," she said. Whispers spread across the chamber. Elias leaned slightly forward, curious. He had heard rumors about a controversial legacy contract, but he hadn't expected to witness the announcement himself. "My people face extinction," Sarilith continued. "Our genetic lines weaken with each generation. Tradition allows for external partnership when survival demands it." Several council members shifted uneasily. "And after long consideration," she said, her gaze scanning the room, "I have chosen a human." The chamber erupted in noise. Elias froze. Dozens of eyes turned toward him at once. He felt heat rise to his face as confusion hit him. He had never spoken to Sarilith. He wasn't even aware he was being considered for anything. The translator continued, echoing her next words. "You paid for me, now do it." Gasps filled the hall. Elias blinked. That phrase sounded completely wrong. The council erupted into arguments, accusations, and shocked reactions. Some delegates demanded clarification. Others protested loudly, claiming the statement violated ethical protocols. Sarilith remained composed, seemingly unaware of the chaos her words caused. Elias stood slowly. "There's been a misunderstanding," he said calmly, raising his hands slightly. A council moderator signaled for silence. "Commander Elias," the moderator said, "were you aware of this agreement?" "No," he answered honestly. "I was not." Sarilith turned toward him for the first time. Her eyes glowed faintly, studying him with intense focus. There was no mockery or manipulation in her expression, only seriousness. "The phrase did not translate correctly," she said after a pause. "In my language, it means the contract has been fulfilled, the future must begin." The tension eased slightly, though whispers continued. Elias exhaled quietly. Even so, the situation remained strange. Why him? What did she want? After the meeting adjourned, he was escorted to a private chamber. He expected interrogation or pressure, but instead he found Sarilith waiting alone beside a wide window overlooking the planet's rings. For a moment, neither spoke. "I apologize for the confusion," she said finally. "Human language carries emotional implications my translators failed to capture." "That happens more often than you'd think," Elias replied gently. She studied him again. You are calmer than I expected. I've learned not to react before I understand what's happening. Her posture softened slightly. She explained her situation carefully. Her species faced a slow decline caused by centuries of genetic modification. Their reproductive success rate had fallen dangerously low. Ancient records suggested human DNA possessed adaptability capable of stabilizing weakened genetic structures. Elias listened silently. "You chose me without asking," he said after a while. "I chose a human," she corrected softly. "The Council's selection algorithms identified you as the most compatible candidate. That still feels like skipping an important step." She nodded once, acknowledging his concern. "I did not intend disrespect," she said. "Time is limited for my people. I acted quickly." Elias turned toward the window, thinking. He had faced many difficult decisions in his career, but this felt different. It wasn't a military mission or scientific experiment. It was personal, emotional, and politically dangerous. "You understand what this looks like," he said quietly. "To outsiders, it sounds like ownership or obligation." Her expression shifted slightly, as if puzzled. "There is no ownership, only partnership." He appreciated her honesty, even if the situation still felt overwhelming. They spoke for hours, discussing cultural differences, ethical boundaries, and expectations. She surprised him by listening carefully whenever he expressed discomfort or hesitation. Gradually, he realized she was not seeking control or advantage. She was desperate to save her people, but she refused to force him. "If you decline," she said, "I will respect your decision." He believed her. Elias returned to his quarters later that evening, carrying more questions than answers. He stared out into space, watching distant stars drift slowly past. Humanity had always been defined by choices, by stepping into unknown situations to help others. That instinct had earned them allies and enemies alike. He remembered Earth's history, countless moments where people risked everything for strangers. Maybe that was why aliens found humans unpredictable. They acted from emotion as much as logic. The next morning, news of the announcement had spread across the station. Some viewed him with admiration, others with suspicion. Rumors twisted the story into something far more dramatic than reality. A fellow diplomat approached him privately. "Be careful," she warned. "Some species think this is a power play. Others believe you're being manipulated." "I don't feel manipulated," he said calmly. "That doesn't mean others won't try to interfere." Her warning lingered in his mind. When he met Sarilith again, she looked slightly more tired, though she maintained her composed posture. "My people watch closely," she said. "They do not understand why a human would help us without demanding reward." "That's because humans don't always measure things that way," he replied. She seemed thoughtful at that. They visited a research facility where scientists explained the procedure in clinical terms. Nothing felt rushed or hidden. Consent protocols were strict, and Elias appreciated the transparency. Still, he hesitated. Helping another species survive was an enormous responsibility. What if he failed? What if political pressure turned their cooperation into conflict? Later, they walked along a quiet observation garden filled with floating plants that glowed softly under artificial sunlight. "Why choose a human?" he asked again. She paused before answering. "Because humans endure," she said simply. "You survive environments that destroy others. You adapt emotionally and physically. Your species builds connections even with those who fear you." Her words carried quiet respect. Elias felt something shift inside him. Maybe this wasn't about politics or reputation. Maybe it was about hope. Days passed as they continued talking, learning each other's perspectives. Slowly, mutual trust formed between them. She laughed for the first time during one conversation, a soft sound that surprised him. He realized she had been isolated for most of her life, burdened by expectations of saving her lineage. One evening, he made his decision. "I will help," he said. Relief flashed across her face, quickly replaced by calm dignity. "Thank you," she said quietly. He nodded. "But we do this as partners. No ownership, no pressure. Agreed?" "Agreed." Outside, stars burned silently across endless darkness, witnessing the beginning of something neither fully understood. Across the galaxy, whispers spread. A human had agreed to help restore an alien lineage. Some saw danger. Others saw possibility. Elias only saw a chance to make a difference, and for a human, sometimes that was reason enough. The journey to Sarilith's homeworld began quietly, without ceremony or celebration. Elias stood near the viewing glass as the ship left Viewership 9 behind, watching the trade station shrink into a distant cluster of lights. He felt the weight of his decision settle deeper inside him with every passing moment. Helping another species was one thing, becoming part of their future was something else entirely. Sarilith entered the observation chamber without making a sound. She stood beside him, her posture graceful but less formal than before. The tension that once surrounded her had softened slightly, replaced by cautious hope. "My world is not like the trade station," she said after a long silence. "You may find it quiet." "Quiet sounds good," Elias replied. She tilted her head, studying him. "Humans prefer noise, activity, constant movement." "Some do," he said with a small smile. "Others like stillness. It gives us time to think." She seemed to consider that carefully. The ship moved through hyperspace, stars stretching into glowing lines outside the windows. During the long travel, they spent hours talking. Sometimes they discussed science and history, other times simple things like food, music, or childhood memories. Elias noticed how curious she was about human emotions. She asked questions that no alien had asked him before. "Why do humans help strangers?" she asked one evening. "Because someday we might be the stranger who needs help," he answered. She did not respond immediately, but her expression showed quiet understanding. When they finally arrived, Elias felt unprepared for the beauty of her world. Vast oceans reflected a soft violet sky. Cities rose like living sculptures, curved and elegant instead of harsh and mechanical. The architecture seemed to grow naturally from the ground, blending technology with nature. Yet beneath the beauty, he sensed something else, a feeling of sadness, as if hope had faded long ago. As they landed, groups of her people gathered silently. Their appearance resembled Sarilith, though each carried subtle differences in color and height. They watched Elias with cautious curiosity, whispering among themselves. "He is smaller than expected," one voice said through a translator. "Fragile," another added. Elias pretended not to hear. He was used to such observations. Sarilith led him through wide halls filled with glowing symbols. Unlike the busy energy of Viewership 9, everything here felt calm and controlled. No loud voices, no sudden movements. Even conversations happened in measured tones. He soon realized that her people avoided emotional expression. Their society valued logic, precision, and tradition above all else. Scientists greeted him politely and began explaining the process again, ensuring he felt comfortable with every step. Elias appreciated their respect for consent and transparency. Nothing felt forced or hidden. Still, the attention made him uneasy. Everywhere he went, eyes followed him. Some showed hope, others skepticism. Later that day, Sarilith invited him to walk through a garden overlooking the sea. Gentle waves moved slowly below, reflecting shifting colors from the sky. "They do not understand you yet," she said softly. "That's fair," he replied. "I'm still trying to understand them too." She stopped walking and turned toward him. "They believe humans act only from strategy or ambition," he laughed quietly. "Some humans do. But most of us just try to do what feels right." Her gaze lingered on him as if she wanted to believe that. Over the next weeks, Elias learned more about her people's struggles. Their declining birth rate had created a culture of quiet despair. Children were rare. Families felt incomplete. Many believed extinction was inevitable. He began speaking with citizens, sharing stories about humanity's own difficult past. He described wars, disasters, and moments when humans nearly lost hope, and how they kept going anyway. At first, the aliens listened politely but without emotion. Gradually, something changed. They started asking questions. They wanted to understand how humans survived emotional pain without shutting down. Sarilith observed these conversations closely. She seemed fascinated by how easily Elias connected with strangers. "You speak without fear of judgment," she said. "That's not entirely true," he admitted. "Humans fear judgment all the time. We just try not to let it stop us." Meanwhile, political tensions grew. Some nobles believed the alliance with humanity weakened their traditions. Rumors spread that humans would claim control over their lineage. A rival faction openly criticized Sarilith's decision, accusing her of risking cultural purity. Elias noticed guards becoming more visible around them. Security protocols increased. One evening, during a formal gathering, a noble confronted Elias publicly. "You bring chaos," the noble said coldly. "Your species disrupts natural order." Elias remained calm. Change always feels like chaos at first. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Sarilith stepped forward, her voice steady. He is here by my choice and my people's need. Respect that. The confrontation ended without violence, but tension lingered. Despite political pressure, the scientific process continued. Elias underwent routine health monitoring and training sessions designed to prepare both him and Sarilith for the genetic procedure. Their cooperation deepened as they faced challenges together. He began to see her not only as a leader, but as someone carrying enormous loneliness. She had lived her entire life with expectations placed upon her shoulders. Every decision she made affected the future of her species. One night she confessed quietly, "I feared you would see this only as duty." "And you were wrong," he said gently. "I see it as a chance to help someone who believes in hope." Her expression softened in a way he had never seen before. As time passed, the people around them started to change. Citizens who once watched from a distance now greeted Elias openly. Children, rare but present, approached him with curiosity. He showed them simple human games, and their laughter echoed through halls that had long been silent. The transformation spread slowly but surely. When the genetic procedure finally took place, it happened without spectacle. Scientists worked carefully, respecting both participants. Elias focused on trust rather than fear. Sarilith remained calm, though her hands trembled slightly before the process began. Afterward, there was only waiting. Days turned into weeks. Political opposition grew louder, claiming the experiment would fail. Some attempted to disrupt research facilities, forcing security teams to intervene. Through it all, Elias stayed beside Sarilith, offering quiet support. Then came the moment. A senior scientist approached them with visible excitement. "The results show successful integration," the translator announced. "Early indicators confirm stabilization." Silence filled the room. Sarilith closed her eyes slowly, relief washing over her. Elias felt a deep sense of gratitude, not pride. This was never about proving human superiority, it was about cooperation. News spread across the world like wildfire. Citizens gathered in public spaces, sharing cautious smiles. For the first time in generations, hope felt real. But with hope came new danger. Opposition leaders declared the child a threat to tradition, a symbol of unwanted change. Secret plots formed to stop what they called contamination of their lineage. Elias and Sarilith faced growing pressure from all sides. One night, as they watched distant stars together, she spoke quietly. "I did not expect humans to bring emotion back to my world." "We don't bring emotion," he said. "It was always there. Maybe you just needed permission to feel it again." She looked at him with quiet wonder. Their bond had grown beyond contract or duty. It was built on trust, shared struggle, and a belief that different species could create something meaningful together. And as the future began to take shape within her, the entire galaxy watched, some with hope, others with fear, waiting to see what humanity's influence would truly mean. The news spread far beyond Sarilith's world. Across the galactic coalition, ships carried reports, analysts debated outcomes, and leaders watched carefully. Some saw the alliance between a human and an ancient alien lineage as a miracle. Others saw danger, a sign that humanity's influence was growing too quickly. Elias tried not to think about the political storm forming outside their world, but he could feel it in every message that arrived from distant systems. Human command checked in often, not to control his decision, but to ensure he was safe. They reminded him that he represented humanity whether he wanted to or not. He never forgot that responsibility. Life on Sarilith's world changed slowly but steadily. Citizens who once walked quietly with lowered eyes now gathered in public spaces, sharing conversations and laughter. The confirmation of the pregnancy had ignited something unexpected, hope. Sarilith herself seemed different. The rigid distance she once maintained began to soften. She spoke more openly with her people, leaving the isolation of royal chambers behind. Elias noticed how carefully she listened to ordinary citizens, absorbing their fears and dreams. Yet not everyone welcomed the change. Opposition groups grew more desperate. They believed that mixing human genetics with their ancient lineage threatened centuries of tradition. Secret meetings turned into organized resistance. Rumors spread that the child would become a symbol capable of reshaping their society entirely. Security around Sarilith increased, though she disliked the attention. One evening, while walking through a quiet garden illuminated by soft blue lights, she turned to Elias. "They fear losing themselves," she said. "That's normal," he replied gently. "Change always scares people." She stopped near a pool of still water, watching reflections ripple slowly. "I do not wish to erase our culture." "You're not," he said. "You're helping it survive." Her gaze met his, searching for reassurance. He offered a small, confident smile. The months passed, and Elias found himself deeply integrated into her world. He trained with their guardians, learned their history, and even participated in public forums where citizens asked him questions about humanity. "Why help us?" one elder asked during a gathering. Elias answered simply, "Because helping others is part of being human." The audience fell silent, as if trying to understand a philosophy unfamiliar to them. Meanwhile, outside forces grew restless. Several coalition species demanded oversight, claiming that a hybrid child might alter political balance. Some even proposed removing the child from Sarilith's world for protection. Elias strongly opposed the idea. "This isn't a political asset," he said during a tense diplomatic call. "It's a life." His words spread quickly, earning respect from many and criticism from others. As the pregnancy progressed, Sarilith experienced emotional changes that surprised her. She felt stronger connections to those around her, sometimes overwhelmed by feelings she could not fully control. "This is new," she admitted one night. "Humans go through that too," Elias said. "It's part of caring about something bigger than yourself." She considered that quietly. Despite increasing threats, daily life continued. Children played openly in city squares. Artists created murals celebrating unity between species. Music filled halls that once remained silent. Then came the first serious attempt to disrupt everything. A group of extremists infiltrated a research facility, intending to destroy medical data related to the pregnancy. Security forces responded quickly, preventing major damage, but the incident shook the entire planet. Sarilith refused to retreat into isolation. "If I hide, they win," she told her advisors. Elias agreed. "Fear grows in silence. You need to show strength." Together, they appeared publicly the next day, addressing thousands gathered in the central plaza. Sarilith spoke not as a distant ruler, but as someone willing to change alongside her people. "Our future does not erase our past," she declared. "It honors it by choosing survival." The crowd responded with cautious but growing support. The closer they moved toward the birth, the more intense political pressure became. Foreign observers arrived, claiming to monitor the situation. Some were friendly, others clearly suspicious. Elias remained focused on supporting Sarilith rather than engaging in endless debates. He helped design security strategies that balanced protection with openness, ensuring citizens still felt connected to their leader. One quiet evening, as they watched twin moons rise above the horizon, she asked him a question that lingered deeply. "Do humans fear the future?" "All the time," he answered honestly. "But we move forward anyway." She smiled faintly, understanding the strength behind those words. As the final weeks approached, tension reached its peak. Intelligence reports warned of a coordinated attempt by extremist factions to eliminate the unborn child. The threat forced them to relocate temporarily to a secure sanctuary surrounded by natural landscapes far from major cities. The sanctuary felt peaceful despite the danger. Waterfalls flowed through ancient stone formations, and the sky glowed with warm colors during sunset. Here, away from politics, Elias and Sarilith found moments of quiet connection. They spoke about dreams rather than strategies, about what kind of world they hoped their child would grow up in. "I want them to know both our cultures," she said softly. "They will," Elias replied. "And maybe they'll create something new from both." The day of the final confrontation arrived unexpectedly. Security detected unauthorized ships approaching rapidly. Extremists launched a desperate attack, believing this was their last chance to stop change. Elias joined the defense teams, coordinating strategies alongside Sarilith's guardians. He refused to stay hidden. "This is our fight," he said. The battle remained mostly strategic rather than violent. Defense systems redirected ships away from the sanctuary, while diplomatic channels worked to de-escalate the situation. Eventually, the attackers were forced to retreat, their support collapsing as public opinion turned against them. The victory felt quiet but meaningful. Not long after, labor began. Medical teams gathered calmly, guiding Sarilith through the process with careful precision. Elias stayed nearby, offering steady reassurance whenever she needed it. Hours passed slowly, filled with anticipation and nervous energy. Finally, the child was born. Silence filled the room as everyone watched the tiny life take its first breath. The newborn carried features from both species, a perfect symbol of unity rather than division. Tears filled Sarilith's eyes as she held the child close. Elias felt a deep sense of awe. This moment represented more than survival, it represented possibility. News of the birth spread across the galaxy within minutes. Some celebrated openly, others watched cautiously, but no one could deny the significance. In the days that followed, Sarilith addressed her people once more. This time her voice carried warmth and confidence. "This child does not belong to one species," she said. "They belong to the future we choose together." Citizens gathered in celebration, their once silent world filled with laughter and music. Elias stood nearby, watching quietly. He had never sought fame or recognition, yet he had become part of something larger than himself. Humanity's strength was not measured by power or conquest, but by the ability to build connections across impossible differences. As the sun set over the oceans, casting golden light across the city, he realized that the galaxy would remember this moment not as a political event, but as proof that hope could grow even in the most unexpected places. And for a human, helping hope survive was always worth the journey.